All right, 72 seasons, here we go. What's going on, guys? So back at you with another review. Sorry, I know it's been a while, but here we go. You know, it is Metallica 72 seasons. Let's get right into it. So 72 seasons off the bat. Intro, pretty chill. I wouldn't say necessarily chill, but more kind of relaxed, a little bit laid back, nothing too intense, too crazy. Then when the second riff comes in, that mood just straight up like shifts, and it just like takes you in a whole nother kind of like headspace, kind of mood setting. Overall, easygoing sounding kind of track. Nothing really super fast or crazy, nothing like that. The vocals, when they come in, they really just punch in there. You know what I mean? Like the vocals are always going to sound pretty intense, unless it's like something off the Black Album or something like that. But the vocals come in, they punch really hard, they really hit you, and um, it felt a little overlong. Like it felt like it could have been trimmed down by maybe a minute or two, a little bit over long, but still not a bad intro track, not too bad. It like the overlongness kind of made it feel a little bit sort of boring at parts, but still not too bad of an intro track. Really good intro track, pretty much. When Shadows Follow, the lyrics were definitely the highlight of this track. I really like the lyricism that James put. The whole album really was like lyrically just really, really amazing. But the lyrics in this one were this really where I was like, oh wow, the lyrics are like really, 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 really good. So the lyrics in there are really nice. It was more like a slower hard rock. I kind of felt like sometimes it got in like stoner rock kind of territory because at some points I wanted to just kind of like light a joint and just chill to it. You know what I mean? So it was like really chill, kind of slow. At certain points, it did remind me a little bit of Wolf and Man, both lyrically and just kind of like the instrumentation of it. I kind of got, you know, like I kind of was starting to hear the actual Wolf and Man song play in my head when I was listening to this song. So that was really kind of cool. It had a really nice groove too that I loved, especially near the end. It was just groovy. I was kind of like, like bobbing my head to it. It was really nice. And the ending I thought was kind of cool because it sounded kind of like the whole song is about like trying like to run away, like shadows following you and everything like that. And then the ending, it's kind of sounded like the way they ended it kind of sounded like it was like getting caught, like you or whoever the song was about, or the song was just like getting caught by the shadows. Kind of sounds like at the end you got trapped and caught by the shadows. So that was really kind of cool. Screaming Suicide, I love the intro they had. It ramped up into like a little faster, more intense kind of beat. And I really like the way of the visuals of this song. Just the way they were all like Jane and everyone was just kinda like looking crazy, like the black and whites and the grays are kinda a little fadey. The liquid stuff that was all over the place. I'm not sure if that's supposed to like represent blood or just like the breaking out of the suicide or anything like that. But really, the visuals in this music video really kind of helped it lend itself to the song. Really kind of enhanced the song a lot. It's again great lyricism, great delivery of the lyrics on this one. I really like the way James like sang in accordance with like the riffs and how the riffs kind of like changed and were kind of like sort of like a little frenetic and a little kind of frantic in there. I like that. That was really cool. And that little bit of talking was like, ooh, like that was like that was just a nice little like spice. I was gonna say spice on the cake, but I guess I was moving to ice on the cake. I don't know, but it was just like a good little bit of spice just thrown in there. And Sleepwalk My Life Away again. Like all the intros on this album were great. The intros they do were awesome. That okay. So yeah. So this intro in particular though. So like it started off with bass and drums, which of course, as a bass player, I'm all for that. And it just sounded awesome. Raw's bass tone was just like really like gargly and low and everything. And then you had Lars's drums with that. And then you had James coming in, and then you had Kirk with that little like pick scrape thing he was doing, and just like all the things they were doing in the intro were like separate but all fit so well together. I was like, ooh, because I was like, oh, bass and drums, and I was like, okay, cool. And James came in doing his little riff thing, sounded kind of heavy, and then like Kirk's just doing this pitch thing. I was like, oh, okay, that's what it goes. So just that intro was just like really, 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 really awesome. This is probably my favorite chorus of the whole album. Just I don't even know like why, but just the way it's sung and it's delivered, it's just I just love the chorus. The chorus was awesome. Like I was listening the first time I heard it, I was like, oh man, I love that chorus. And then it came back around, I was like, oh man, I love this chorus. So the chorus, amazing. You Must Burn, great track. Other than Luxy Turner, probably my favorite track off the album. I just love the message behind it. You know, the perfect don't want you around, you're the witch you must burn. Like, you can apply that to so many different things in like today's society, today's world, especially with all the social media stuff going on, cancel culture, all that kind of stuff. You can apply that anywhere, anywhere, especially today in these modern times. It's just that song was just amazing. I didn't expect it to be like that topic, but or just my interpretation of that topic, but probably my other than Luxy Turner favorite track off the album. Great track. All I wrote was literally just great track. So yeah, I don't know what just dropped, but great track, great track. And then Luxy Turner, all I wrote slaps, slaps, still slaps, is amazing. I'll put the review I did of it at the end of the video on an end card, but still awesome, still amazing. I was still sitting there headbanging to it. Like after it was over, I was like, nice. Still slaps, awesome visuals, awesome solo, awesome, just awesome, awesome. And Crown of Barbed Wire. As soon as it starts, you hit the ground running. It's not like a slower intro like most of the songs have been. You just like go in there, boom. That's all I really wrote for that. But this one was just, I feel like I would have loved to see a music video for this one, like an animated music video, because the way that he phrased the lyrics and the visuals they create, like with the bloodshot eyes and, you know, the crown of barbed wire, just like that whole visual, I feel like that would have been like a really awesome concept, kind of like how they did the music video for Spit Out the Bone. I feel like that really would have been a really awesome concept to see and just have those lyrics portrayed, because all the visuals it like makes you imagine just really kind of suck you into the song even more, to where like sometimes you may not even listen to the song, you're just like imagining what's going on in your head, and it was really just painting like this amazing visual picture in my mind that I really enjoyed. But yeah, awesome, great song, love that one too. Chasing Light, I wrote not bad. Yeah, I don't really remember that one too much. I don't know why, but wasn't bad. But I don't know. For some reason, I don't really remember that one too much. If Darkness Had a Sun, I love the vocals on this one. Like James' vocals really shine like super hard on this one, kind of like how they did on the Black Album, and I just love like all the vocals. And this one is like, it's like heavy and kind of like a dirge, and his vocals match the riffs exactly. Like the riff changes, his voice matches the riffs. Like the him and the riffs just coalesce really well in this song. They just are exactly on with each other. They're intense, they're the same as each other. They're just awesome, you know. And just the whole mood of the song is just kind of like, oh, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like, I don't know. It's like kind of makes you want to stomp around in slow motion. Kind of. It's just it's weird. I can't really describe it, but it's just like it's a great mood. Too Far Gone. So the main thing about this one I love is the chorus, because when James Hetfield was talking about this album and the meaning behind it, he was like, you know, the 17 seasons, first 18 years of your life, finding, you know, like meaning in the darkness and happiness through the bad times and stuff like that. And the thing about this chorus is, or at least what I think it sounds as both happy and sad. So like, kind of like the first part sounds kind of happy and the second part sounds kind of sad. And he somehow was able to vocally make the chorus sound like two different moods at once. And it's like you don't even really notice it, but when he goes kind of higher in that chorus, you're like, oh, it sounds kind of more happy right there. Whereas at the beginning, he was kind of more like kind of sad and kind of down there, and it kind of just shoots up. And you know, the way he just phrases vocally makes it sound a little bit more happy. So I was like, that's really interesting. Like the chorus sounds both happy and sad at the same time. That's interesting. So that was really creative. Like I don't know if that's how they like meant it for it to be interpreted, but that was like really creative, and I really did like that. And then yeah, I like the ending. The ending was just awesome. So yeah, great ending. Room of Mirrors, another great track. Just another great track. Love the lyricism. Love the way everything was like composed and the visuals. Like the visuals, I don't know, like this album just makes you, it really works your imagination a lot. Like you really kind of envision everything, because they have a lot of lyric videos. I watched this one on YouTube because my vinyl hadn't arrived yet. So like a lot of lyric videos, a lot of visuals that also kind of lend themselves to the feel of the song and kind of like enhance whatever you're also kind of thinking about. With the way they make the lights go and like whatever they use black and whites or the bright yellows or like the reds and stuff like that. Or in the music videos, when they use those blues, those really vibrant blues. It's just it really kind of it's really almost kind of like a psychedelic experience, which is really kind of cool. Like I watched it with like the lights off and everything, so I was like, oh, cool, really really awesome. Kind of sucks you in and kind of really get your mind working. And it's like you pay attention to the lyrics, but the lyrics it's more like the lyrics are kind of bypassing your conscious brain, and then you're just like imagining things, and the lyrics are influencing that, but you don't even really know it. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not a psychologist, but that's kind of what it made me think of. So Room of Mirrors, yeah, great song. So Inamorata, 11 minutes long. Wow, that's awesome. Okay, so intro. So the one thing I say about the intro was it sounded like it was the last track of the album. It kind of sounded like once again going back to the whole like finding meaning and new meaning and stuff when you're older and growing and like finding light and stuff. It sounded kind of like it was just like the last battle. This is like if like those shots where the person's like in the dirt and you see their hand come up on the hill and they just slowly climb back up and they're like ready for the last battle and they're like supposed to be dead and giving up, but they find the strength to finally get up and like do it one more time. That's kind of what the intro felt like. It felt like you were really just like this was the last struggle, the last battle, like the last chance for hope, the last chance of victory and salvation and stuff. And it was like you were just kind of rising up from the ground, from the massive beat down and let down or whatever, and you were just trying to finally get it in there and do that last battle. So it really sounded like it was a final track. It sounded like a finale track. Like they built that intro to make it seem like, oh yeah, this is the last song of the album or something like that. This is the last battle, the last fight. And so it was just a really long, epic-y kind of track, like not epic like symphonic or anything like that, but it was just like lyrically, it was really epic. The composition was just probably the best composed song, because earlier some songs kind of sound like it just kind of jumped into different riffs, but this one was really well composed. It flowed really well, and you really like understood it as a whole piece, like the best out of all the songs on the album. And at 7 minutes. Because I heard the song, I was listening, and I looked at, ooh, what was that? So I looked at the timestamp, and I was like, 7 minutes. I kind of got a bit of an Orion feel, like just a teeny tiny bit, and it kind of kicked me back into Orion. I kind of heard it playing in my head a little bit. I was like, oh wow, that sounds a little like Orion. So I wrote like 7 minute mark Orion, and then the outro was awesome. Just hearing him talk and hear him like happy and kind of everything like that. The song ended and I was like, there's still like 10-15 seconds left, so what's going on? And then you hear him just like talking and everything. It was really really cool, and it's a really really cool outro, like going back to the whole finding hope and everything like that. Like at the end of this long 11-minute track, this long like 77-minute album, you just hear them being dudes. They're just chilling there and talking happy, and it's really really cool. It's awesome. I loved it. So all right, so whole album thoughts real quick. So on the first, well, only the first listen through, so I don't listen to them once and do the review. When I first heard it, I actually thought it was really boring. It kind of sounded like everything kind of ran together, kind of was the same 2 or 3 riffs, and it wasn't like it wasn't like intense as I wanted. It wasn't like I was expecting like how Hardwired had Spit Out the Bone, and then it had a Moth and a Flame that had Hardwired, and Spit Out the Bone and Hardwired were like the most intense crazy songs, and you had like Atlas Rise and Moth and a Flame, which were kind of intense, and everything else was kind of like kind of like slow and kind of like not really super metal, I guess I would say. It sounded more like rock. This was like that, but more. Like, I think Lux Eterna was the most metal song out of them all. And I went into it hoping there was a little more intensity, a little more variation. And so it was like halfway through, I think it wasn't until I really got to Crown of Barbed Wire where it hit. And I have like, while I was listening the rest of the time, I was reevaluating all the other things I'd heard before, because I thought it was kind of boring and like it ran together, and I was like, man, this sucks, blah blah blah. But then I look back and like, well, listen back in my head while listening to other stuff. I was like, well, so one thing about this album is like consistently it's consistent. Like tone wise, riff wise, it's consistent in the same way the Black Album was consistent. You know, the Black Album wasn't super intense, wasn't like super fast, crazy, thrashy, you know, like the previous albums were. But the tone was consistent, the mood was consistent. And this album was consistent in mood, tone, lyricism, delivery, production, like production wise and composition wise, as far as the composition being like kind of matching in tone and intensity delivery, this was like the Black Album too. Because you know the production was even across everywhere. You know the drums sounded great, the vocals sounded good. You heard everything, and James did a lot of really awesome singing, a lot of awesome harmonies on this one, and just like did on the Black Album. You know there was kind of like a more kind of easy, kind of like not super intense, super fast, crazy mood, just like the Black Album had. And it was more, it seemed like more of like kind of an introspective, kind of like more of a deep thought kind of album, like the Black Album was. Um, there were definitely some points where I didn't think it was like super. I wouldn't really call it metal. It kind of went into stoner rock kind of for me because a lot like saw songs like, man, I would just love to like smoke a J and like jam this whole album like on loop forever, you know. And it was more like which more like a rock album, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, which goes again back to, you know, the meaning of 72 seasons. And I feel like still expecting that kind of Metallica is kind of not I wouldn't say proper, but it's just not what you should be expecting anymore. You know, and you know you can't expect them to play like you know like they did on Kill 'Em All or you know Ride the Lightning and Mass Purpose and things like that, and that's fine. You know, like that doesn't take away from the quality of the music. That doesn't take away from the composition. Doesn't take away from the lyricism or anything like that. Because once you actually see what they're doing, because to me I felt like they were taking all the intensity, like the hard fast slamming riff stuff, and putting that more into like the lyrical ideas and like the concepts and the visuals and the whole theme of the album. You know, I feel like it's a little bit deeper than just super fast heavy riffs, and there's nothing wrong with that. Of course I love that stuff, of course, but it's just like Metallica is obviously different now. Everyone's older, they've changed. You know, James is going through his divorce and you know everything going on. You know, they've all got like kids who are adults or nearly adults now. You know, everything's different now, so you can't expect them to write the same way and expect it to be intense in the same way. Because a lot of people just think, oh, it's only intense if it's like at 9,000 BPM, or the solos are like super shreddy and super fast and there's nothing but blast beats and gravity blasts and stuff like that. But you could also be intense in ways where you can have, you know, like really intense lyricism and really deep messages and really intriguing visuals that provoke even deeper thought than you already were having about the lyrics. And, you know, it's just, it seems it's more simple composition wise. But I think this album really leaned a lot on like vocal techniques and lyricism instead of just fast playing, fast playing, fast playing. You know what I mean? So it wasn't. It was like once I went back and thought about that, you know, by the time Inamorata was over, I was like, wow, this is actually a really good album. You know, I wouldn't go as far as to say that it's Black Album 2 in every regard. You know, like I said, the consistency and the composition and the mood and the production. Um, it's definitely not Black Album 2 in every regard, of course, because there can be no second Black Album. But as far as like this era of Metallica, I think this era of Metallica's Black Album. Because, you know, you got Lux Eterna, which is like the fast, really cool banger, and then everything else is just really kind of introspective, really kind of laid back riffing, kind of like more kind of, instead of like running through the field, you're just kind of like dirging through it. You know, it's more, like I said, just more introspective, and I guess it's more mature, I guess the word I guess I want to say. And it's just this era of Metallica's Black Album. You know, like back then, you know, when Jason was in the band, that was the Black Album. I would say this is this version of Metallica's Black Album right here. Just a really amazing piece of work. Like I said, I thought it was super boring at first. The only real complaint I had once I look back at some of the solos were just a little eh. But other than that, it's really, really awesome. You know, it's just really just immensely thought provoking and just really deep. And there's a lot of real topics, real issues, real messages in here. And Yeah, I mean yeah. I mean, go check it out, man. I'll definitely re-listen to it for sure. I didn't even think they'd be coming out with another one because, man, the longer it took them to come out with Hardwired, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be the last Metallica album. They're just gonna tour on this forever and blah blah blah. And then Lux Eterna dropped, and I thought Lux Eterna was a joke. And I thought it was. I saw like outlets saying Metallica drops a new song, and I was like, "There's no way this is real." And it was real. I was like, "Oh my god, they're actually releasing a new album." Blah, blah, blah. So it's really just, like it's this era of Metallica, this version of Metallica's Black Album. Really, it's just really deep, introspective, thoughtful, mature, and they allow you to realize that more without having like super amazing shreddy riffs or like blast beats all day. And it's very unique for a Metallica album. It's very unique. It's very unique. It's pretty special, and they did a really good job. I probably I like this one better than Hardwired. Really, they just did a really good job with it, and they put their all into it. Really put some deep thought and messages in there, and yeah, they did a great job. So yeah, go check it out. I can't wait for my vinyl to come and spin it on my record player, and yeah, hopefully they're next to where they'll come to Florida so I can see them and see them second time. And yeah, if you guys like this, you can like, comment, subscribe. Thank y'all for watching, and rock on.